A glow reflected off the water, then the sand. Axandra breathed deeply and dug her feet into the beach. She had waited years for this moment to come, ever since she fled the prophet's guardianship as a child, when her name was Ilian. She tried to prepare herself for what would happen when the goddess found her. The orb of light grew large enough to envelope her as it flew over the white beach. Before she could react to shield herself, it was upon her. The sensation plowed through her body with 1,000 times more power than the sliver. She flopped to the ground. Her body quaked against the sand as the glow shrouded her with sparks. She struggled against its hold, but force bound her limbs and paralyzed her. Blinding her, the brightness entered her left eye. Panting for breath, an orgasmic ripple coursed through her nerves, melding pain and pleasure into euphoria. Ringing filled her ears. Generations of experience swelled her brain. Images she'd never seen before filled her eyes. Memories of a lost childhood snapped into vivid clarity. Curiosity tempted her to try to see everything. The sights flashed by too quickly to understand. Overwhelmed, her mind shut off. First day of Unamont, in the year 286 after the landing. I don't want to stay here. With white knuckles, Ilian bawled and gripped her mother's hand. A pale prophet woman touched her shoulders as though to comfort the child. Having never seen a prophet before, Ilian recoiled. The mystics kept themselves segregated from the rest of the population. She knew the prophets served the protectress in a magical way that frightened her. Elora crouched down to eye level with her 6-year-old daughter. You have to stay here, my darling. The prophets are going to teach you everything you need to know to be the protectress when your turn comes. Please don't cry, her mother begged, cradling the child against her breast. You're breaking my heart. After several minutes of consoling, Elora framed Ilian's face with both hands and looked into the child's green eyes. You'll be fine. Behind the frail woman, Ilian's father said nothing. He barely even looked at his daughter, his typical expression toward her. He stood there with his hands held together in front of him and twitched his fingers, waiting impatiently for the scene to end. The little girl kept her lips tightly shut, refusing to say goodbye. Ilian did not want them to leave her. She wiped her cheeks dry with her hand, but the hot tears kept streaming down into the creases of her lips. Her cheeks felt raw. Her mother cried too, but urged her only child to stay with the strangers. Ilian witnessed the pained look upon her mother's face, a frightful look of sadness. The girl hated her parents for turning their backs and climbing into the car to leave. Beneath the great storm, the wind whipped at a gale force, blasting sand in gigantic swirls. As the car engine began to hum, the same gateway that opened to allow the car into the haven reappeared as though by magic. The car disappeared through the storm, seemingly untouched by the sand. Lightning flashed all around, bolts striking the ground, and fingerlings groping out in every direction. Yet in the haven, the destructive winds stayed away, as though the good goddess cupped her hands over the mountain to stop the air.